Hoskins with us, and we'll be followed by Joe Girardi in a little bit. As usual, you guys know the deal. Raise your hands if you have questions, and please keep yourself on mute when you are not asking a question. Pat Gallen, I see your hand up first, so why don't you start us off?
Hey, Rhys. Hope you're doing well. When you prepare for a season, do you set individual goals? And when you talk to other guys on the team, do you come to a consensus like, look, if we do this, we can achieve that? And I hate to use the word expectation, but is like goal setting, I guess, something you do individually and as a group?
Yeah, definitely goal setting, right? I think that's healthy. I think it's pretty normal. I think everybody having, something that they're after, whether it's individually or as a team, is something that keeps us going as athletes. So yeah, definitely individually, right? Like I personally will assess, how the last season went, individually as a season, and then also against the rest of my career, and see where I can make some adjustments. And then from there, try to set some goals that I'm trying to reach. As a team, obviously we're trying to get into October and, reach the World Series. I think that's every team's goal at the beginning of spring. I think if we get caught up getting too far ahead, setting goals as a team too far ahead, we may overlook some of the work that needs to be done right now. So as of right now, man, we're just trying to get through day one of spring training. We'll focus on tomorrow for sure.
All right, let's go to Jim Salisbury next, and then Scott Lauber.
Rhys, are you still the player rep?
I am.
How do you think Odubel will be accepted in the room if he makes the team? Will he be accepted? And how do you think, the team will react to that, and maybe even you personally?
Yeah, look, I don't think anybody would condone, what happened a couple of years ago. I think we have to remember also that he was in minor league camp last year. So I think that's pretty important to remember. I think he's in mini camp this year. But look, I think everyone knows he's going to have to learn or to earn that clubhouse's trust back. I think he knows that as well. So I think that's what we're going to focus on as a group. Obviously he needs to play and make the team, but we're just going to try to focus on, seeing what he can do to earn our trust back and, let the chips kind of fall where they may.
So if he proves to you guys that maybe he's grown and is contrite and plays well enough to make the team, do you expect he would be accepted, or you think some guys are just a hard no?
I wish I had a crystal ball, Jim. Look, everyone's going to react differently to a situation like this, right? Maybe some guys have something like this in their past, and it cuts a little bit deeper. Some guys may also believe that everybody deserves a second chance if they've proven that they're willing to move on. So I don't know how it's going to play out. I think everybody's kind of watching it. We just all know that it's on him to kind of gain the trust of the organization back, that, he's become a better person because of it.
You've known him a long time. Have you had a chance to chat with him about, where he is and what's going on?
A little bit. We got to spend some time the last couple of days here. He seems like he's in a good place right now. How that kind of shows itself over the next 6 to 8 weeks. Who knows? So we'll just kind of try to take it day by day here.
If I could just shift gears, opening day, you going to be ready?
I'm medically cleared. I got medically cleared yesterday. So as of right now, there's no reason why I shouldn't be. But we're going to use these next 4 or 5 days before games start to try to get the rep count up, get it a little bit more normalized. And as long as I can get at bats, the amount of at bats that I'm used to during spring, which should be no problem. I don't think opening day is out of the picture.
What goes into being medically cleared? Did you have to pass some strength and stress tests, or did you have an examination?
Yeah, just going through, all the steps of rehab. The last one today, just to give you an idea, was a diving tests, I guess, per se. Just, being able to make a dive in the infield and then react and get up and make a play type of thing. So everything's pretty much normalized strength-wise. Now it's just about getting the reps that I need in spring.
Great. Thanks a lot, Rhys.
Yep.
Scott, I think you might have dropped off when I announced you were next, so we'll go to you next, Scott.
Okay, thanks. Hey, Rhys. As of now, no universal DH and no expanded playoffs. You are, the player rep. I was wondering if you could kind of give us a sense for whether you think those issues are settled, or whether you believe that, from what you've been told, that those issues could come up again before the end of the spring.
Yeah, Scott, I definitely don't think they're settled. Obviously, as of right now, they're settled, and this is what we're going with for 2021. I think, if you follow baseball, you're aware that the CBA is expiring after this season. So, trying to speak to something that's further on than this season is going to be hard to do, just because I have no clue how the negotiations are going to go. So we're playing with the hand that we got right now, and unfortunately, that's no DH and none of the extra innings rules or things like that. We'll see where we end up in 2022.
One other one, totally unrelated. Your top three starting pitchers, Nola, Wheeler, Eflin, all have very high ground ball rates. They have for years. It's kind of their thing. So how important is infield defense, and how confident are you guys as a group that, it's really the same infield you had last year. Segura is probably going to play mostly second base this year, that the infield defense is kind of up to where it needs to be for, especially for those guys.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think as a group, we know we need to be better than we were last year. There's no reason to kind of hide from that. But I think, already early in camp, there's little things that are being stressed, little pre-pitch stuff, making sure that we know where we're going with the ball before each pitch, just kind of going through those, fundamentally sound things that can often get overlooked. And I really think that is going to help, us as a group. Gene's going to have more time at second base. He's going to be more comfortable. Momer's going to have more reps and more time over at third base. He's going to be more comfortable. And then again, we'll just kind of continue to work as a group and try to create some chemistry so that we know where we're going to be on the field at all times. And I think if we can do that, we're going to be better as a group.
Thanks, Rhys.
All right, we'll go to Ruben Amaro Jr. next, followed by Todd Zalecki.
Hey, Rhys. Hopefully I'm not muted now. Welcome to spring training again, and good to see you. Based on how you finished last year, which was outstanding. I mean, tell me about how different you feel with your overall personal approach at the plate, and as opposed to last year when there's so much talked about you tinkering with it, your setup and that sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah. I feel pretty comfortable. Obviously, this offseason was not solely focused on the rehab, but a lot of it was focused on the rehab. But these last 6 weeks or so, we've really gotten to kind of hone in on making sure that I felt the way that I did last year. I'm trying to replicate that right now as much as I can, but I also understand that things are going to change, man. They always do. As us as hitters, it's a big time skill to be able to make adjustments when we need to. Pitch to pitch, game to game, whatever it may be. So we're going to work. I feel great in my work right now. We'll see when we get in some live at bats and in some games. I'm sure there's going to be adjustments that need to be made in spring, as well as during the season. But I feel pretty confident in the foundation that I had to be able to make those adjustments.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Rhys. During BP today, are you letting it rip as far as BP swings go? Kind of falling off of the medically cleared to go thing.
Sure. Yeah, there was a couple rounds, that I let it fly a little bit. Just got to make sure that it's still in there. It's always nice to remind yourself, especially in batting practice. But that's also part of, making sure that I'm getting the type of reps and the intensity in the reps that I need. Trying to make things a little bit more game-like when I can. But, felt pretty good today.
Do you feel anything in the elbow, or what do you feel in the elbow right now?
Honestly, Todd, I feel normal.
Okay.
I feel pretty normal. Gets a little bit sore at night, but nothing that is there the next day. And that's pretty encouraging going forward. So feel pretty normal. It's a good place to be.
And then following something else, your good buddy Scott Kingery had struggled last year with injuries and just performance and whatnot. And just kind of wondering if you've talked to him, what do you think his mindset is coming into this season and his chance to rebound?
Yeah, I think he identified pretty early in the offseason that he maybe was a little bit too big last year and lost some mobility. So, to be able to identify that early and then having a whole offseason to make sure that he feels the way that he needs to feel, to play the way that we've all seen him play. So he feels pretty good right now. We'll see how things in spring shake out, but he's looking really athletic. And I'm looking forward to getting to see the things that I've seen him do on a field again.
All right, time for a couple more. We'll go to Tim Kelly and then Mike McGarry.
Hey, Rhys, I'm wondering what your impressions of Alec Boehm were last season and how high you think his ceiling is.
Kid can hit. Kid can really hit. Kid can play some baseball. It was pretty impressive to see some of the at-bats that he was taking, especially later on in the season when those games started to mean just a little bit more. We knew that, we had some games that we needed to win to try to get into the playoffs. But he wasn't shaken at all, which I thought was really, really cool to see, just getting thrown into the fire as a rookie and just getting called up in the season that we had last year was hard enough, let alone being thrown into the middle of the lineup and then producing the way that he was. I don't want to put a ceiling on him. I don't want to say anything and put a ceiling on him. But he's definitely one of the more talented hitters that I've been around at the age that he is. So with the work ethic that he has, I don't see why he can't be anything that he's striving to be for sure.
Was he the most advanced young player that you've seen come up since you've been here?
Approach-wise, no doubt. I think his knack or his willingness to take the little dink single to right field was something that was impressive to see. It's good for the rest of our lineup too, knowing the way that the game's going with shifts and everything. To know that we have hitters in the lineup that 1 through 9 that can do that. So super impressive, man. I'm excited to get to hit around him for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Rhys, you've had a lot of stuff happen to you in your career since you've been up. The hot start, a couple of different managers. You've been a spokesperson for the team off the field, and now coming back from the injury. What's just been the key to sort of mentally handling those challenges that you've had to go through?
I think, just making sure that we as a team and I guess, me as a teammate is just making sure that I'm focusing on them, focusing on the rest of my teammates. I think when you have that mindset, all of those quote obstacles that, may come your way during a baseball season or in life, you tend to focus on other people and your teammates. Those obstacles generally become easier. So, lean on the people around you. It's a great organization. We have a great group of guys in there. We got a great group of coaches. I think if we can lean on each other, there's nothing that comes our way that we can't handle.
Yeah. Obviously, you said before a couple minutes ago that you feel normal, and that's a good place to be. Obviously, you want to have a successful season, but how nice would be a maybe normal routine, a little less duller successful season, or a little, a season not filled with so many highs and lows, or just a more routine season be nice for you this year?
We're just trying to get better every day, man. Obviously, yeah, we're trying to be as consistent that we can. Us as hitters in the infield, in the outfield, on the mound, in the coach's room, everyone's trying to be as consistent as we can. We know this game is hard, and it's a hard thing to be consistent. But I think if we can focus on little things like that, we're going to be better as a team, and you're going to see a more, quote, like you said, routine season for sure.
Thanks, Rhys. Appreciate it.
All right, Rhys, thank you very much for joining us. And
Yeah, thank you, Ken.
We'll hang around. Yeah, of course. If the rest of you will hang around, we'll have Joe for you shortly. Hey, Joe.
Hello.
All right, guys. If you have any questions for Joe, please raise your hand. And as always, mute yourself if you are not asking a question. Anyone want to start us off? Ruben, I know you said you had some questions for Joe.
Yeah, just how you doing, Joe? Hope things are going well.
He's putting you on the spot, isn't he? Golly, it's early.
He texted me.
Okay, no sweat. Hey, just some of your early impressions on some of the guys that have. Again, some of this stuff is probably redundant, Joe, but the Alvarados and Bradleys, Kinslers, those kind of guys. What are your early impressions in their pens so far, and how they're assimilating into the ball club?
Impressions in the bullpen, very good. As far as being teammates, I think maybe even better. They all seem to have good energy. They seem to fit right in. And there's actually more than that. I saw Tony Watson throw his bullpen today. That was good. Coonrod has thrown an outstanding bullpen, his last bullpen. So, the additions that we've made, and a lot of them is pitching, seem to be right on track and to fit right in.
That's great. And I guess the other thing, I don't know if you've gotten your eyes on every one of the players now that most of them are in camp, I guess. Physically, how would you assess how guys are looking, how they came into shape, how prepared you feel they are? Anybody stand out to you, plus or minus?
Well, I really had a chance to see some of the position players today, not all of them. Alec, he's a little bit bigger, which I like, right? I mean, it seems like he's starting to fill out a little more. And a lot of times what comes with that is you hit balls harder. And when you hit balls harder, sometimes you're even more productive. And he was really productive last year. So I thought he looked really good. Rhys looks great. Where Rhys is at this time, I am thrilled. He has done everything he really needs to do. We'll continue to get him more reps so he's comfortable, and maybe a few extra live BPs that he sees. Just want to talk to him, but I think he looks great, because sometimes you think about when you go through a long, gruesome rehab like he does, sometimes you feel like the rest of your body gets neglected, but it did not, and really pleased.
Thanks. And what about
Kutch looks great, moving so much better. So that's exciting as well.
That was one of the questions I had as well on Kutch, how he was moving, because I know he didn't want to talk about it much last year, what his mobility has been like. He's been such a great athlete. And I was wondering how he was faring. The other guy, I guess, Rhys had mentioned something about Scott Kingery wanting to come in a little bit leaner.
Definitely leaner.
A little bit more athletic.
Probably 15 pounds, maybe 12 to 15 pounds. Really? He looks great. Much leaner, and we think it's going to help him. And he likes it too. I mean, he talked about he just feels better. And I think that's what young players go through. They try to find what their optimum weight is. Each year as a young player, you seem to increase a little weight, and you think, okay, that helped, and that helped, and that helped. And then at some point you level off, and you got to figure what's optimum for you. And he feels really good at where he's at.
Cool. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Let's go to Scott Lauber and then Jimmy.
Joe, do you expect an 8-man bullpen to start the season, or are you looking at, perhaps an extra pitcher? How do you sort of view the number of pitchers you'll take at the beginning?
Yeah, Scott, in my mind, I kind of think of an 8-man bullpen, but I think you can adjust if you feel like you need to adjust. Like if you feel like, maybe there might be a little bit more workload in the pen than we thought originally, you could go to 9. But in my mind, I'm thinking of 13 and 13, but I guess I'm allowed to change my mind.
Also, just, everybody, have any of the guys who were late gotten back? Do you have any guys additionally who are late who would have been there today?
No, we still are missing really about 8 guys. And Harp, he started his intake a day late, just because he was going through his routine back at home. So we're expecting him, he's here, but he hasn't quite got through his intake yet and everything.
And just one other one for you. Your pitching staff, especially your top three guys, are kind of ground ball pitchers. Your infield defense, how do you feel about that group? And it's really, I guess, kind of the same infield that you ended last year with Segura now playing majority second base. How do you feel about that group and maybe where you need to see some growth from that group too?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that we've talked about, trying to, increase the range of our infield. We feel that we can do some things to possibly change that. And that's one of our focuses in spring training, to improve that area, because, you're talking about ground ball pitchers, and you're talking about some of these relievers can be ground ball pitchers as well. So I think it's a really important, and we're stressing it all spring long.
Does that involve like changes to how you shift and things like that?
I think we actually shifted really well last year. I think it's just trying to increase range. And there's some things that you can do that in your setup and everything that you do. So that's a focus of ours.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe, did you guys ask Scott Kingery to trim down? Maybe it would help his quickness now that it looks like he's going to be maybe running down balls in center field?
We didn't. That was a thought process of his.
Okay.
He felt like he played better at the weight he was the year before. So we were all on board with it. And, I always feel like players know themselves better than actually we do. They know how they feel inside their body and the way they're moving, and they can probably feel little things, differences that we don't necessarily even pick up on. And Scotty decided he thought that was best, and we were all for it.
Do you think that could, in a way, help him offensively, in that if you're not as bulked up, maybe the temptation is not to lift, maybe it's to hit like 5'9" guys used to hit?
That's something that he worked very hard on when he came back from his injury last year. And if you look at the quality of his at-bats last year, they were good. I know he didn't have as many hits, but he had a number of lineouts, and that is a focus of ours, right? Gap to gap, line drives all over the place. He's strong enough and has enough power. He's going to run into home runs. He's just going to run into them. But we need him on base and causing havoc and, being the player that he's capable of being.
Can you just give us a little idea of what things looked like today in terms of what you guys did?
Yeah, the position players started. We did not ask them to take live BP today. We had 4 pitchers that threw live BP. It was Nola, Nova, Hale, and Mitchell. And the catchers hit off of them. So, and we just did it on one field. 2 catchers one would be warming up the guy coming in. One was catching, and the other 2 hit, and they just rotated. Those guys threw 20 to 22, 23 pitches in their live session, which is basically an inning. The infielders came out, the outfielders came out. They did their BP, they did their defensive work. They ran the bases. The catchers ran the bases today to try to get them ready for Sunday, and they'll do it a couple more times. They did their individual defense, and that was the call of the day.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
Let's go to Mike McGarry and then Pat Gallen.
Hey, Joe, you mentioned the rehab that Rhys undertook this winter. He's had to deal with some ups and downs in his career, navigate them pretty successfully, the rehab being the latest one. What do you see in him, his mentality that, enables him to kind of handle this stuff and get through it?
Mike, it's really simple to me. He loves to play. And that's what keeps him going. I was so impressed. I was telling someone today, I was so impressed with Rhys. I was telling Paul, our head trainer, because he did some things, he did some diving today, because that's a hurdle that, he has to get over in his mind. And last year, I felt that when he got hurt, he didn't have much of a chance of playing, right? Just because I didn't think it was going to heal enough to where he could have joined us at the end of the year if we were fortunate enough to make the playoffs. But he kept working and working, and I saw him on the bike and on the elliptical, and he was running, and he was trying to, use his left hand, and I was like, this kid really wants to play, right? This kid loves the game. And I think it was, as much as it hurt me to watch, I was like, wow, what an attitude. I I fell in love with Rhys even more than I was before. And I think that's what keeps him going, is his love for the game.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Hey, Joe, just asked Rhys about coming into the season, goal setting, I guess, as an individual and as a team. And as you get closer to the regular season, when you get a better sense of where everyone is and the depth chart and so on, do you tend to put more concrete goals down for the team and for some of the individuals? How do you approach that sort of thing?
Sometimes I believe that goals can be limitations. You get to what the goal that we set, and you say, well, I reached my goal, and you let your mind relax. Here's my goal for our team. Be the best team that you can be collectively, and be the best individual that you can be. Be the best player that you can be. So who's to say that that's 30 home runs? Maybe it's 32. So if I say hit 30 home runs, all of a sudden you get to 30 and I reached my goal. I don't want that. I want you to be the best, and I want you hungry every day, and I want you trying to get better every day. So those are our goals. If those things happen, I like our chances, right? If everyone performs to the best of their ability, gets better every day, I like our chances. Have you always held that approach, even as a player, or did you put individual goals down yourself when you were on the field? To me, I always thought about being the best team that we could be, right? And I think, your goal was to win the World Series, right? So if you win the World Series, you're the best team that year. And let me tell you, I'm good with that goal. But I don't ever come into a year and say, I want to make the playoffs. To me, I don't want to finish second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. I don't want to finish there. I want to win the World Series. I mean, that's why we put the uniform on. And just be the best person that you can be individually and collectively as a team. And I'll take our chances. Thanks, Joe.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
And we will talk to you all tomorrow.
So now what am I doing? Where am I going?